What do you say, guys? Welcome to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. We're here to hear what Coach here to hear. Get it? But two different meanings. We're waiting to hear from the Alabama Crimson Tide head coach and get kind of on the same page with Nick Saban as Alabama readies to take on Michigan in this year's Rose Bowl game and the college football playoff. But before we do that, I want to thank you guys for being part of what we do here at the channel. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you like and subscribe. Roll Tide, everybody. Let's get this thing started. And a hearty Roll Tide to you guys as we hang out on a Monday and get ready to hear from Coach Nick Saban. Finally, you get a chance to see our friend from WJLX in Jasper, Walker County's own Brett Elmore. I'm Mick Gillispie at Broadcaster Mick and at WJLX 101.5. Did I get that right?
At WJLX 101.5, yeah. Good to be here, Mick. In the Thunderdome.
Well, what's up, man? Roll Tide. We're going to hear from Coach Saban, and I know you're pumped about this Rose Bowl game. A lot going on. Alabama practicing as we speak, getting ready for the game.
Yeah, the coach is expected to hit the podium here in about 8 minutes or so. Of course, normally he may run a little late, but who knows how practice goes today. You see the team there earlier out stretching out, getting ready to go, getting ready for the big game, man. The Rose Bowl, it doesn't get any bigger than this, really, unless it's a championship game. You get to play in the Rose Bowl. That is an experience that these guys are going to remember for a lifetime. And it's such a great place to play. Got a lot of folks going out there heading that way. I'm starting to get excited.
Well, you should be. And I see we got a lot of you guys in the comment section, and crank them up for us. Justin says, "Roll damn Tide, Lank." I'm all about it, man. We got part 1 and part 2 because Jalen Milroe is coming back next year. But Roll Tide to you, James Huber. Roll Tide, everyone, man. Great to have you back with us, doing a little bit of live talk here. And yeah, Saban is the godfather. Brett, are you a fan of Saban and Coach Prime on the commercials together?
I like it. Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think it really shows, and we've seen this, and you've talked about it a lot on the show, having Coach Saban, showing him in a different light, really. I like him on the commercials. I like his weekly appearance on McAfee, his program. You see just a different side to Coach. I love the viral video of the car.
Yes.
How cool is that, man?
That's a Ferrari, right?
Yeah, I think that's a Ferrari.
Do you have one of those? Don't you have a nice sports car?
No, I don't have a Ferrari. No, I wish I did. I wish I did, but yeah, they all want to drive the car. And then some of these recruits, like the kid from Saraland, if that's what it takes to get him to sign, I'd let him take it for a spin.
Ryan Williams, yeah, just let him get in there. Hey, buddy, here's the keys. Like that Jimmy Buffett song about going from Pascagoula. It's some kind of Pascagoula song. You know, he said his uncle showed up.
Run?
Yeah, Pascagoula Run. Yeah, he said his uncle handed him the keys to the car.
Call my crazy uncle too.
Twan, great to see you. Roll Tide from Naples, Florida. Robert, Roll Tide to you too, man. It is great to see all you guys. Tom, Roll Tide. Robert, Bob, Roll Tide. Roll Tide to you, Jeffrey, and Michael, and Deontay. Roll Tide, man. I'm fired up. I feel like I haven't hung out with you guys in forever, man. Live, anyway.
Yeah, I have the chat pulled up on my other computer here, and yeah, I got to everyone. Everyone's excited. You know, the bowl season has kicked off Saturday. Did you watch any of the games? Of course,
a little bit of it. Yeah,
you know, my neck of the woods. I wanted to see Jacksonville State, obviously, being here in North Alabama, but I was glad to see them get a win. You know, their first bowl game, an exciting win, a very good ball game. And bowl season is here, so people are starting to watch ball games every night. We got one tonight. I know it's the no-name bowl, but still it's football.
Well, it's crazy, and you talk about that Jacksonville State game. There is an Alabama tie to this, and the tie is that what you got to remember is that was the guy that was supposed to coach Rich Rod, Alabama.
Yeah, he was everyone. I remember it so well.
Me too. The headline in the paper was Alabama gets rich.
Right. I remember it like it was yesterday. Everyone was saying, well, it looks like Rich Rodriguez was going to be our guy. And everyone seemed to be, at least to my memory, seemed to be pretty content with that until they said, oh, wait a minute, there's a guy in Miami that may be interested.
Well, but remember, he backed out of the job,
right?
And it was because his wife didn't want him to do it. His
wife was the total blame for all of it.
Well, and honestly, now we all love her. She was, kind of one of the culprits to.
She saved Alabama football.
Think of all the championships. What would life have been if Rich Rodriguez had taken the job? Because, I think he would have done okay, but we wouldn't have Nick Saban.
No. It worked out how it needed to work out. Everything's fine. Rich is doing fine in Jacksonville. He's got a good job there. Got a good team. Got good talent there. And of course, Coach is, he's made quite the name for himself as the GOAT.
Yeah, he's done some things. I think, Brett, that this coaching job, what he did this year, is his best coaching job. And I know that he's been fantastic for a long time, but it's really been something watching the level of turnaround that this team, the growth that we've seen from this team and the coordinators and just everything that he does, everything that he touches, he's got the Midas touch.
He does. And I would not argue with you on any of those points because I believe this is his greatest coaching job as well. At the beginning of the year, I'll admit I had very, very serious doubts. I was for the first time in a long time, Mick, I was concerned about this football team. And I thought, what is going on? The quarterback situation, we were unsure there. The offensive line, there was so many question marks and it seemed like it was rocking along for way too long. And then the light switch came on, and then we started rolling, and we haven't looked back yet. And I don't think we're going to look back, Mick. I think we are in a perfect position right now to win the national championship, and I think Alabama is going to do it.
Well, look, we're going to find out New Year's Day against Michigan, the number one team in the country.
And you talk about playing a number one team once again, that doesn't happen a whole lot in the history of college football.
Yeah, it's only happened a handful of times, right?
It's only happened a handful of times. And, even Coach Bryant, and this is hard to believe, Mick, that Coach Bryant, he took over Alabama in the late 50s, 58, I think. His team didn't face a top-ranked opponent until when? 1972 in the Orange Bowl loss to Nebraska.
Wow.
That was a long time. But, of course, when you're number one, it's hard to play number one, of course.
Right. Well, the other thing, too, is that the system wasn't set up to match up the best teams, right? It was you played the teams in your area, and then you had the bowl games. Thundar brings up a great point, and I didn't even think about this, Brett. But talking about Rich Rodriguez, he ended up going to Michigan, Alabama's opponent, in the
I forgot
Rose
about
Bowl.
that.
So think about that, right? And then Thundar's like, hey, he got screwed, by Michigan in that game. So I'm sure he's pulling for Alabama.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. But back to the number one thing. If the Crimson Tide wins, Saban will be the first coach to win back-to-back games during the same season against two different number one teams in college football history. Everyone has had a chance. Obviously the playoff system probably helps a little bit. But it's a statistic that is very intriguing because Dabo Sweeney hasn't had the luck against number one teams like this. He's 2-2 when facing a number one team. Brian Kelly, 1-3. Kirby, 1-2. And even you go back to Mac Brown, 2-5 against number one teams. Saban has beat a number one team 9 times in his career. This could make number 10. And the first time he did it was that big upset at Ohio State when he was at Michigan State back in '98. And the rest is, everything's been in the rearview mirror since then. But no one's even close to Coach Saban when it comes to defeating number one teams.
Yeah, and look, and it's on, and he's about to hit the podium on here, but you're right. I mean, no one's been better than Nick Saban, and there's the guy. Let's get out of his way, and here's what he has to say.
Good. So, the first 3 days of practice here, we really tried to focus on fundamentals. I think everybody's got to practice with a plan, a sense of purpose. Everybody's got to kind of reinvest into conditioning, reinvest into fundamental techniques, discipline to execute, blocking, tackling, all will translate into positive performance in the game. And I think it's, hard to carry the momentum from the season to a game when you got almost a month, between games. So players really have to reinvest in, all those things. The players did a good job, in the 2 weeks in between and finals week. And we've had 3 good days of work. So we want to continue that for the next 4 practices. And, hopefully we'll get closer to where we need to be in terms of being able to go play like we're capable of playing, in this game. It's a great opportunity for our players. It's a great challenge for them. But, you're not really owed anything when you play in these games. It's like a 1-game season when you're playing in the playoffs. So we got to put everything into it we can. And everybody's working hard to try to do that. I'd like to congratulate the 15 guys that we had graduate on Saturday. 3 guys got master's degrees. Justin Aboigbe, Seth McLaughlin, and Will Reichert, and 12 other guys graduated. We've had 6 guys make, some kind of All-American teams: Dallas Cooley, Terry On, J.C. Latham, Will Reichert, Caleb Downs. So really proud of those guys for their performance. But, I think they would be the first to tell you that their success comes because of their teammates and, all the guys who contribute to allowing them to have positive performance. So, we're just grinding through it and working, and, tomorrow we'll get back at it.
I want to ask you about the self-scouting and tendency breaking stuff that you do as a staff normally during an idle week. Is that an exercise that gets repeated to some extent at this time of year ahead of a bowl or a playoff?
There's no question about it. We do quality control just about every week, on what our tendencies are and what we're doing and what we can do to try to, break those in some way, shape, or form. So, and certainly with this extra time here, that's something that we most certainly are trying to do.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, can you just speak to the decision to bring in George Hilo and what kind of role he'll fill on your staff?
Well, George has been here before, so he was with us for a long time, knows our system. I think every year that, we've been in the playoffs, we've, tried to bring somebody in primarily because, we spent 2 weeks really on the road recruiting. So somebody to do a little extra work that has good experience. And, when we get off the road, being able to give us a good scouting report of what we need to know. And so that's, the purpose, just to add, sort of a special assistant to me, whatever you want to call it, to, when I come off the road, be able to get me up to speed on what's happening. So that's the reason we've always done that.
Given everything that's come out about Michigan this season, are you planning on doing something different with the signs in this game?
Not really. We always change things up a little bit, but we're focused on what we have to do to try to get good execution, and we're not really concerned about any of that stuff.
Good evening, Coach. Hope you're doing well. How has Jace McClellan progressed since the SEC championship game?
He's getting better. I think it's probably still too early to tell. He's getting ready to do dry land running and some things. So, he'll progress through the rest of the week, and, we see where he lands by the end of the week.
Is the plan with Hilo to ultimately replace him with Coleman Hutzler, or is that on the table, or is he just strictly brought in for this?
No, look, we're not concerned about any of that stuff right now. We got a game coming up. Coleman Hutzler is here. He's finishing the season. I don't have time right now to go through the due diligence of hiring anybody or even be concerned about that. So, we're focused on what we got to do right now.
Can you just speak to your relationship with Jim Harbaugh and obviously the connection with Tom Crean and kind of the meeting in New Orleans several years ago?
With who?
Tom Crean.
Yeah, well, Tom Crean was an assistant basketball coach for Tom Izzo when, I was back at Michigan State. He's a good man, good friend. It's a great family, the Harbaugh family. I've known the dad. He used to help me when I was old secondary coach. And, his brother John are great football people. So got a lot of respect for the entire family. And, Tom Crean is, part of that family.
Has Kool-Aid progressed through the concussion protocol and is he back?
Yeah, he is. He's doing fine.
We'll go to Joe if we got any follow-ups.
Coach, when you get into preparing for Michigan, they've shown a trick play or two almost every week offensively. How do those wrinkles influence what you do defensively from a preparation standpoint?
Well, I think that, they do a really good job on offense. Week to week, they've got a pretty good plan formationally in terms of their ability to go out and give you some different looks. And, it's a challenge for the players to have the discipline and the eye control to look at the right things so that, when those kind of plays come up, you're in position to play them. So, I don't think that they do it any more than, anybody else that we play. I just think it's a good part of your offense to be able to have some of those things that complement some of the things you do down in and down out.
Yeah, Coach, last time we talked to you, you said you were going to kind of hold office hours for some of your players to see if they want to talk about their future and stuff like that. How did those conversations go?
I did talk to all the players after the Georgia game, but, what I talk to players about really is not for public consumption. I mean, there's some things that I think are still sacred on a team. And if you want to talk to a guy about his future, that should be sacred. If he wants to share his feelings with you, I think you should ask him. All right. Thank you.
All right, there he is, Coach Nick Saban, letting it out, man. I love Angry Nick back on the podium, ripping people. He's locked in. This is when he's at his best, Brett. Yep. When he's just not up there effing around. Like, I'm doing this because I have to do this, but I'm not getting into any of the crap that you guys want to get me into. You're not going to start a fight with me and Jim Harbaugh, period.
I think that press conference lasted about 6 minutes. And sort of like on the chat, like Barnes said, laser focused. It's exactly right. That guy's laser focused. He's just pissed off about something, or something's going on. But did he call George Hilo sort of like his personal assistant while he's been doing recruiting?
And that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. George Hilo was a guy who started his career at Alabama, right?
Right.
He worked in the weight room, and then he went and worked under Kirby, and then went out through his career. He was eventually let go by Michigan, and now he's coming back to work for Alabama. But he's had a great relationship in Tuscaloosa with Nick Saban and the staff for a long time.
Yeah, he has, and Coach Saban said that is someone that he could trust, to be in Tuscaloosa and give him a report on what's going on, because like we mentioned earlier, Coach Saban has been on the recruiting trail. He's been running the roads hot, as my grandmother used to say, burning the midnight oil. He's been all over the country recruiting players and trying to get his class together as we round out this early recruiting. But, he's laser focused, and it's going to be interesting. He will meet the media again on Wednesday, and of course that is signing day, right?
Yeah, so he'll talk about practice. He'll talk about signing day, and we'll kind of get into more of that. But we can talk a little bit of signing day here before we get off. But just kind of thinking about some of the other things he talked about. Obviously, George Hilo, Tony Tsoukalos tried to ask him about like what his role was going to be. Coach was quick to say, "I'm not focused on what anyone's role is going to be next year. We're worried about we got football games to win right now." When we get there, we'll get there for it. They asked him about changing signs, which is a great question.
Yeah, that was a great question.
Because as you guys know, Michigan was caught cheating. They were caught, with a coach that was going to other places and basically cracking team signs. And then they used the teams in their own conference turned them in. They actually did it against Alabama when they played Georgia in the 2021 national championship game, according to reports. But Coach Saban was asked if he was going to change signs, and he was kind of dismissed. He just kind of dismissed the question. Oh, we're not going to change signs. That's BS. There's no way. There's no way they didn't change signs, right?
No. And there's no way. Because Saban knows, everyone knows, like you mentioned, they got caught cheating. There's still signs. And that has to be something you're concerned about when you're trying to play for your 19th national championship and you're right on the verge of winning one. Michigan will do anything to try to crack the code.
Something else I wanted to tell you guys too is I wanted to apologize for any of you guys that went to buy Gravedigger and Bama Tailgate didn't work. $25 off any pre-orders for 4th and 31 expires on January 1st, but the promo code for that is Gravedigger 25. You get $25 off. That didn't fall under our last special Bama Tailgate, but you still get 15% off any regular price item right now for up through Christmas with Bama Tailgate. It's always we constantly rotate different specials, and I know that there's I want one. Brett wants one. I know that there's 192 people watching. By the way, we need 192 Roll Tides, so give us a thumbs up, even if you're not even an Alabama fan. Thank you for doing that. But use the promo code Gravedigger25 if you want one of those prints. They are going to be killer. The other thing is that this is one of the hottest Daniel Moore prints. I think it's the hottest one since Tua's touchdown to beat Georgia. It's one that you're going to see everywhere, and then they're going to be gone that fast.
That's right. So you better get one, and then go ahead and use the code and get that $25 off. Everyone can save a little money around Christmas time. Gravedigger25 on the 4th and 31. And but you better hurry because you only have a couple of weeks to use that, as that will expire on the 1st.
He talked. We'll go back to Nick Saban talking again. He was asked about Kool-Aid. Remember, Kool-Aid got knocked out of the SEC championship game with a concussion. Kool-Aid's back, and he's won some national awards since then. And Coach Saban said that he graduated with Jalen Milroe, and 15 of the total guys did that, which is something that I did at Alabama as well. And I got to tell you, one of the proudest accomplishments of my entire life, man, to have a degree.
You should be proud of that, man. You should be proud
first
of that.
one.
I flunked out of Bevel State Community College. Look at me now.
Well, look, Brett, I did everything I could to flunk out. You
tried hard.
I bartended at Boo Radley's. I kicked it with the KAs. I was on the lacrosse team at college radio. Calling sports for WVOA radio. A little bit of studying, a lot of fun. No, I played on the lacrosse team. It was 7 of the best years of my life.
Yeah, seven of the best years of your life. You okay, Van Wilder?
Yeah. Roll Tide to those guys, though, man. It really does mean a lot, and congratulations to them. But Chase McClellan, he said, is starting to get better too.
Yeah. But going back to the graduation. Kool-Aid graduated, but how about 3 of them earning their masters? That's very impressive.
That I didn't even know that. That is incredible. And look, my grandparents used to say this to me all the time, and I miss them, especially at the holidays, right? You think about the people that made your holidays so great when you were a kid. But my great grandmother used to tell me education's the only thing they can't take away from you. And as messed up as this world is sometimes, I totally get that.
Very wise. Very
because once it's up there, you got it. And it means a lot, because you can always get yourself out of this, and no matter how bad you fall, you can get back up again. So Merry Christmas to all you guys and Happy Hanukkah as well to all of you. Stephen, good evening and roll tide, man. RMFT. All right, so it looks like Chase McClellan's, there's a chance that he's going to be back. You got Kool-Aid back. You got Alabama focused on this Michigan game. And I'll tell you what I really like. You go back to the game that Alabama lost. Texas surprised Alabama a couple times on trick plays. Mm-hmm. Michigan's known for trick plays. I can guarantee you that they're going to try to pull some trick plays in this game. And Nick Saban was asked about it, and he's like, look, and you knew this. Jake Coker, who I do the Elephant in the Room podcast with twice a week, which we didn't record one today because he's sick. But he's always like, in these bowl practices, you pound fundamentals. It's the first thing. And then when Saban was asked, Brett, about that and kind of how you deal with that, he's like, look, if you do your responsibility, you'll be in position.
Yeah, it's all about the basics, blocking, tackling, and yeah, they're going to be ready for Michigan and their trick plays. And you're right, Texas, they had a few for us, and that was back in the early part of the season where, and we had talked before the season, and I told you, and I think you agreed with me that that was a game that really concerned me because it was so early in the season, and I knew that we may have a rocky start a little bit. I didn't expect it to be as rocky as it kind of was. But we got through all of that, and we are in a position now where, and I really didn't think we would be in this position to win another national championship. And out of the playoff scenario, Mick, do you think that this shapes up to be, and I don't want to use the word easy because it's never easy when you are in the playoffs, but does this situation stack up to where you say maybe this is, man, we've got a really clear path, even though we're the fourth team in the playoff?
Mm-hmm. I think this is one of the toughest years of the college football playoff, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
You go through each of the different playoff and national championship runs, right? Mm-hmm. And you take a look at them, and they're also different, right? The reason why I feel like this one's tough is that Michigan is a physical football team. We're gonna see something that we haven't seen in a long time, and that is they're going to try to stack the line of scrimmage with sometimes 8 offensive linemen and run over you. And what worries me is the way that Alabama wasn't able to stop the run consistently against Auburn, right? And so I know that you can run on this defense. Now, if Alabama plays at the point of attack like they did against Georgia, then they're going to stop that. And I expect that as well. But Michigan has a lot to prove. They were embarrassed last year by TCU in the college football playoff. I think Jim Harbaugh is a good coach, and he's motivated. And I think that this is a tough matchup. Then you win that, and you're going to play the winner of Washington and Texas. I think most of us would like to see the rematch of Washington and Texas. But I think both of those teams give you problems too. Michael Penix Jr. is one of the most elusive quarterbacks. He kind of reminds me of Deshaun Watson, who Alabama beat and then lost to in the national championship game when he was at Clemson. It takes quarterback play like that to beat Alabama. We already seen Alabama and Texas. Quinn Ewers beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa. It's a much different Alabama team now.
Right.
But this is the most balanced field that I can remember. And for Alabama to beat Michigan, it could be a really low scoring, grinded out football game. And I think Alabama can win those kind of games. They have forever, right? But it's just a different type of challenge to me. And I think now I know Michigan's without their best offensive lineman, but That's why that concerns me. And before we do this, say, hey, Roll Tide to Dickie and Noah hanging out with us. Toast to you, my friends, and to Brett Elmore. Thanks for hanging out with us. As we just saw Nick Saban in his press conference, and now we're talking Alabama as we watch him practice there a little bit.
Yeah, Roll Tide, everyone.
What do you think?
What is the total on this game? Do we know?
Well, I can tell you this. First off, Michigan is a slight favorite, and
They're a 1.5, something.
Yeah,
like
and I feel like Vegas has really not gotten the grasp of this year's Alabama football team. And what I mean by that, and I've said this on a lot of my shows, is that I feel like Vegas just hasn't really gotten they still think that this Alabama team has issues, right?
Yeah.
So they're a 1-point underdog, which is just about a pick 'em. Although the matchup predictor has Michigan as a 55.9% chance winner to beat Alabama. Michigan hasn't played the strength of schedule that the Crimson Tide have played this year. But and I'm trying to find the over-under for you right now.
I was looking for the over-under. I can't find it. I know that Michigan is now a 1.5 point. So it's went up a half point, but still. Now, just in case folks were wondering, Texas is a 4.5 point favorite over Washington. But I don't know the total, because you were talking about you think this may be a low-scoring matchup.
Yeah. Well, you break it down while I look right quick. You know,
and that could very well be the case. You know, I'm not sure. You know, thinking about what you were talking about on that level. Yeah, I mean, I could see it being a low-scoring game, but I'm just wondering how low. That's why I was wondering what the total was. And
what do you think? Well, tell me this. What do you think it's going to be?
I was going to say, for some reason, this number's popping in my head, and I don't know why. 55.
So you think it's 55?
Yeah.
That seems high to me.
That does seem high, but that's a number that is popping in my mind, this gourd of mine.
Yeah. Okay. So here it is, 45.5.
I was 10 off.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not in Vegas.
Right. And so that's kind of where I thought it was going to be. And I think that the under in this could hit, because I'm thinking that what Michigan's game plan is going to be is to just try to play a really slow, methodical football game. I think Alabama has a better chance of hitting some big plays, where Michigan's going to try to, basically control the line of scrimmage and push Alabama down the field. I don't remember the last time. Well, I guess the Iron Bowl would be the last time that I saw Alabama get pushed around. But part of that as well was Auburn's ability to take advantage of mismatches and misdirections and stuff like that. And I wonder if Michigan goes back to that tape and says, okay, yeah, if we do this at the line of scrimmage, we do counter trays, we do this and that, we'll be able to catch Alabama and run the ball on.
That would be a film I would watch, if I was Michigan, because you're right. Auburn did a great job. They had a great game plan for Alabama, and for all intents and purposes, probably should have beat Alabama that night. It was just our night. But, yeah, that would be a tape I would watch. That would be some film I would watch. And, we got pushed around a lot, but then we turned around against number 1 Georgia and absolutely manhandled those guys.
Right. Beat them at the line of scrimmage. Have you ever heard that term, thrown out of the club, before?
Yeah.
They were getting thrown out of the club.
Yeah, they were.
Picked
and
up and
it was
tossed.
pretty to see. So you think that this is going to be one of these low-scoring, defensive, old-school matchups, and I would be perfectly fine with that. I love good defense. This is a great man. Just talking about this game. Think about it, Mick. It's the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. You've got Michigan and Alabama. This is one of those true helmet games in the grandest stage of them all, really.
Yeah, not only helmet games, but fight song games. I love both of their fight songs. Like, you put these guys on the old NCAA college football game, and it would like have the fight song come on, and you're like, I'm not a Michigan fan, never have been, but I love the colors. Like you said, the helmets are cool, the history's great, and then you put the fight songs on.
Yeah,
it's like, think about the two fight songs. I mean, you're talking about elite group, right? Notre Dame, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, I don't even put like Georgia in that group, like the great fight song and the great helmets. I get it, Georgia. You guys, you stole Green Bay's helmets and you changed the color, but we're not fooled by that.
Yeah, we're not fooled by your shenanigans, Georgia.
Penn State, throw them in there.
Yeah, we're not
USC.
fooled by your shenanigans, guys.
Yeah.
Chief 18 Wheel says we're putting up 40 if we get the LSU Milrow.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of thinking too. Is that
Milrow shows up?
Well, it's Milrow has obviously had to play through injuries this year, and he was able to do it as a drop back passer. We saw him healthy against LSU, and it was just an absolute. It was like he was running like Nick Saban's Ferrari that he was, showing off on the videos, right? And you could tell he got hit early in that Kentucky game, kind of slowed him down, took one on like the upper part of his leg. And I don't know if that was it or not, but he was still fast, but he didn't look totally hurt, but he just looked like a guy that was a little more careful. So I think he's good. A month off. This guy's going to be locked in.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And then, we have some others. Robert Hurt says Bama 38, Michigan 14. I'll settle for that one too.
Yeah, I would too. I would love to see Michigan kind of have another one of their performances. If Alabama can get on Michigan early in this football game, there could be another sense of, oh crap, here we go again, right? Mm-hmm. And with the way that their offense works, Michigan's offense, it's not an easy task for them to come from behind. They have to kind of play a head-to-head style where they're 10 points or around 10 points ahead or behind. They fall back 2 touchdowns, and it's going to be hard for them to keep up. They because they can't throw the football consistently, or they haven't. I mean, they beat Penn State with under 10 throws in the game. Or completions.
And then too, going back to his press conference and talking about Kool-Aid and coming off the concussion protocol and everything, he's fine. But injury situation, when you get into this level of the season, I'm surprised we're as healthy as we are.
Yeah. Well, think about some of the seasons where Alabama didn't get to the national championship, that didn't make it, right. And you go back and you look and it's obvious that a lot of that had to do with just bad luck and injuries. So how about the year where there's been years where they even made it and, but what happened was they had to deal with injuries and what was the year where they kept losing all the linebackers? Do you remember that? Like the linebackers kept getting hurt, but they still won the championship. Yeah, they still won the championship. I want to say it might have been 2017.
Yeah, it's been a few years now, but I do remember that. Yeah, and you have to have a little bit of luck. You talk about luck. We've had the luck this year.
Jamison Williams and John Mechie got hurt, and that cost them 2021.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, you've got to have some luck. It reminds me of that first, the first championship, where we went out and won the Rose Bowl against Texas. Earlier in that season, Tennessee had us beat. And the 2 blocks from Mount Cody. You don't see that much at all. You had to have a little bit of luck, And I knew right then when we blocked those 2 field goals, I was sitting in my living room and I said, this team is destined to win a national championship. And they did.
Right. 2009. Would you have imagined, though, in 2009 that this program would be at this level? I remember being at the stadium celebration after Alabama won that championship, and Nick Saban kind of giving the the same. He was like LeBron James, like, hey, we're gonna win one, we're gonna win two, we're gonna win three. And I'm thinking like, oh, come on,
it's just the beginning.
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's not. There's no chance, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it was like, boom, boom,
Joke's on you.
boom. Like you're there. He's going for his like 6th at Alabama and his 7th overall right now, which is crazy.
That is nasty crazy. And he loves it. He loves it, man. And y'all had a discussion the other day on the show about the retirement thing. That was a great interview, by the way, with Chris Lowe. Would it be a perfect time for him to retire? If he won it, yeah, you could say that. But I don't think he's ready, man. He's been recruiting so hard. And I think he's looking forward to another challenge of this expanded playoff next year. I think he wants to be a part of that.
Yeah, I thought, well, the reason that I asked Chris that question and I wanted to bring him on is because, well, first off, I love Chris Lowe. But secondly, people ask me, have you heard anything? Hey, have you heard anything? And what happens is there is a lot of negative recruiting from other coaches that say, hey, you know what? Nick Saban's done. He's leaving. He's not doing this anymore, and they're looking at his age and they're saying, hey, think about how it was at the beginning of the season. And then, obviously where it is right now. And I just don't feel like it's time for him to go. I mean, this has been one of his best seasons, and things are kind of in position now for Alabama to make another run next year.
He's still relevant.
Yeah, right. He's still relevant, and recruiting is showing that. And so what I wanted to ask Chris, though, because someone that I am close with was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, you know what? I mean, I'm going to ask the guy that I trust the most when it comes to communicating with Nick Saban, and that's Chris Lowe. And we'll do it as a show. So we would bring him on, and he was talking about all of the things that that Nick Saban brings to the table and conversations that he's had with Nick, and I know that a lot of you guys have watched the video anyway, so you know what I'm talking about. So I mean, and it sounds like, hey, all the boxes are checked for him to come back, but then he says at the end of it, he's like, but he's also said that he doesn't want to get into a point where he he's ever in a spot where he can't do the things he wants to do when he's finished coaching because he's too old. So yeah. I don't know. He's a really young. He is a super young, 70.
Mick, that guy's healthier than I am.
Right. I mean, like 72 or whatever. So I don't know, but I think that it's going to come down to Miss Terry. She's going to be the shot caller on this, I believe. I think that she'll probably say, hey, you after the season, you need to think about it when that time comes. Not saying that time's going to come now. So he still has a lot to give to the sport. And if I was him, I mean, why would you want to bounce out now? Don't you think he'd want to see what the new playoffs like? I mean,
right. That's what I'm saying. I think he's always talking about the new challenge and all this other stuff. And he's been through so much in his career as the GOAT, as the greatest.
Yeah.
That he wants to be a part of this new look college football, because it's going to be a totally different landscape. Whether he likes it or not is going to be that's a different question, and probably a whole nother show, really, whether he likes where this sport is going, college football. But I do think that he is intrigued by this expanded playoff, because guess what? We don't have to worry about 4 teams. Alabama is going to be in that playoff every single year as long as Coach Saban is there in this expanded playoff, I think, or they should be. But I think he wants to be a part of that, and I think he wants to find a way to navigate through the NIL. I don't think it's a perfect system, and I think he sees some flaws in it, but he kind of wants to be here, to be a part of all that. And like I said, the guy spent 2 weeks on the road, man, recruiting like hell, and I think he wants to enjoy the fruits of his labor, don't you?
Yeah, I do. For those of you guys that are hanging out, if you're not part of the channel yet, please like and subscribe to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Always great to have you guys on here as well. And we're presented by Pearl River Resort over in Choctaw, Mississippi. And now's a great time to go to the Timeout Sports Lounge and Sports Book. Get over there. You can bet on the college football playoff, on the NFL playoffs, all of that stuff going on. It's about an hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2 hours from Birmingham, and it's definitely a place that I need to take Brett because of not just the sports gambling. I like to smoke a cigar and drink some bourbon. I like the restaurants in there. There's one called Mom and Them's, which has some amazing food.
That sounds good.
That sounds like a good place, doesn't it? But anyway, check it out, Pearl River Resort and the Timeout Sports Lounge. And if you like golf, Dancing Rabbit is like an Augusta level course, best in Mississippi, and you can play that as well over there. And a lot of times they'll do deals where, and if you spend, $30, if you spend $50 in the sports book, you can golf for 30. And then another thing is, Brett, I know you're a big fan of the Jeff Foxworthy and the what were those guys called? The blue collar comedy guys. Remember them?
Yeah.
Well, one of those guys was named Ron White. He's going to be over there in February.
I'm a huge Ron White fan. I
Ron
really
White
am.
guy?
Yeah, I like Ron White. No.
Ron White used to kick it at the floor Bama a lot. So,
I could see Ron White being
being down there.
There's no doubt about that. He has Florida Bama written all over him.
All over him. All right, well, let's talk. Let's kind of change the conversation. We heard from Nick Saban, just kind of recapping everything that Coach talked about. The team's practicing right now to get ready for the Rose Bowl. Coach Saban was asked about a couple of things. First off, George Hilo, who used to coach at Michigan, coming back to Alabama. Maybe the timing of that as Alabama gets set to take on Michigan. Coach Saban made it sound like George's job is basically just to help him get up to speed when Coach gets off the road from recruiting. And it's almost like there's 5 different Nick Sabans because he's in Chattanooga and he's in California and he's in Texas. He's all over the place. South Alabama. Nick Saban's everywhere right now. So George Hilo's doing that. Don't ask him, though, what George's job's going to be next year. You'll end up like our buddy Tony Tsoukalis, who Nick Saban was quick to, we're not even worried about that.
Slide out of my chair here and melt to the floor.
Loved it. Loved Angry Saban.
Yeah.
Loved it. All right, so that was something. He talked about Michigan's trick plays, said that, that it's something that they've thought about. You got to stay in your position and you won't get burned by those. He was asked about the sign stealing. Michigan's head coach, Jim Harbaugh, was suspended at the end of the season, didn't even coach in the game against Ohio State or against Penn State because he was suspended because someone on his staff was stealing signs. Of course, he didn't know about it, and he didn't use any of those signs to help coach. But the other coaches in the Big Ten turned him in. Coach Saban said that he hasn't changed the signs on the team, or it just sounded like something that Coach speak to me. I'm sure that it's been addressed. I mean, you have to, right? And then the other thing is Kool-Aid, McKinstry, and Chase McClellan updates. Kool-Aid's back and practicing after his concussion against Georgia. Sounds like Chase McClellan is making progress. Saban talked about that as well. And Brett and I kind of got into this too. 15 Alabama players graduated, and Nick Saban started the press conference talking about that. So it was a really short press conference. We'll have it again on Wednesday. That'll be the National Signing Day press conference. And Brett, I want to change gears and talk about that because Georgia lost a 5-star quarterback to Nebraska today.
Wow.
And Alabama, depending on what site, 4th or 3rd, Ryan Williams from Saraland reclassifying. He's a 5-star. He's the top recruit that Alabama has committed. Will not sign on Wednesday because of the reclassification. He'll wait until February to sign. Auburn's going hard after him. That's something that we're going to talk about a lot in another video and keep an eye on it. But everybody that I've talked to feels like he's solidly going to Alabama. The Crimson Tide have 11 guys, Brett, that are practicing right now in Tuscaloosa. They can't play in the bowl game,
Right.
but those guys are there and they're a part of this. And it just gets that education going on what it takes to prepare.
Right. Yeah, they've been thrown right into it, and they need to be. And that's some of the NCAA rules are some of us think are kind of crazy and maybe not advantageous to us. But this is one of the rules that I completely agree with. If they have enrolled early, they need to be with the team. That's what they're there for. They're a student athlete first, and but get them in there with the team and let them mix it up and see what they're getting into. This is definitely some experience that is worth it. But yeah, I mean, Bama, Wednesday, Coach will be speaking about the signing day, and I think there's 3 5-stars in this class, 12 4-star prospects committed, 6 3-stars. Of course, get in the star system, it really doesn't matter to me. Julian Saban probably headlining the class, but you got so many. You have just so many that's still out there. We'd talked off the air about Jalen Mbakwe, 5-star athlete I saw last year at Clay Chalkville when Jasper High School played him. Gee whiz, what an athlete! Clay, they won the state championship there at Bryant Denny Stadium in the Super 7, and he's the quarterback there for the Cougars. But
you like Cougars?
I do. I'm sorry. Yeah, I do. The Cougars, you caught me off guard there.
Yeah, I did. The little joke.
You caught me off guard, but I love it. And then also a guy that I saw play this past year was the kid from Ramsey, Quentin Reese.
Yeah.
He was the last addition to the class on September 16th. So anyway, looking forward to signing day, and we talked about Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. You had a great story about that, but looking forward to what Coach has to say. Several of the players will be meeting the media tomorrow. We won't have any footage on that, but the players will get to meet with the media tomorrow, and then Coach will once again address the media on Wednesday. Do we know when they are heading out to West?
I don't know. We'll figure that out. I do know that on Wednesday, we'll be on here too to update all of the National Signing Day news. I want to thank you, Barnes Homestead. Says, great show, guys. Glad to catch you live. Roll Tide. Merry Christmas and good signing day. And he's talking about Georgia losing 18 players to the transfer portal. And it's been like 5-stars and 4-stars. They have a great class coming in. Alabama's going to lose guys in the transfer portal too. I'm just glad that it's not Elijah Pritchett, because it looked like you don't want to lose those offensive linemen, particularly guys that are playing and guys that are going to have an impact on the roster sometime soon, And I'm sure as a player you get frustrated. Caden Proctor beat him out for the job this year, but there's a bunch of other jobs on that line. He'll probably be blocking right next to him sometime soon, So you just got to be patient. But he went out and then came back and never left. So that's a good thing. Georgia's dealing with that right now. They've got, just an abundance of riches. But after the SEC championship game, they left. And then you're reading stories that, their quarterback was like, they've got to pay this guy an exorbitant amount of money to keep him around. It's a different world right now.
It is.
This isn't amateur athletics. And
I don't like it.
Well, it never was, but it was under the table. Now it's just, it's really, we're in such a weird time when it comes to, what's going on in college football.
Yeah. And that's why what I was saying earlier about Coach Saban sticking around for a few more years, because I think he wants to navigate these waters too with the NIL and kind of see how it all pans out, but I don't like the way that works. That's one of the reasons why I love college football and high school football in particular too, is the purity of it, really. You know, the college, the pro game, you got a bunch of millionaires out there, you know, and sure, that's great. That's their thing. But to me, the purity of the game, and you're right, a lot of that stuff went under the table, but you know what I'm talking about. I don't like a kid coming out and say, hey, you know, basically going to hold you hostage saying, hey, I'm going to have this kind of NIL money or else I'm bolting to the portal.
So that's something we'll keep an eye on, and I wonder what's going to happen when Coach Saban leaves, because the one thing that he's been able to do is manage this, and it's his track record. You can't go somewhere else. Yeah, they're going to pay you, but if you want to be an NFL superstar, if you want to get the most out of your ability, he's proven that Alabama's the right place to do it. Just look over the NFL right now. Alabama has more players in the NFL than any other school, and you got them on every single team. And when you take that 5-star, that 4-star talent, and you give it to him and you pay attention to what he's saying, he's not taking any crap off of these guys. You know, like he's forcing them to be their very best. And it's something that they appreciate, right? You go to other programs and it might not necessarily be that way.
Right.
But you also have an opportunity to play for the best that's ever done that. You're not going to be able to say the same thing when he retires, you know. And I'm going to tell you right now, I loathe the day that he's not head coach at Alabama. They could go out and get the best possible coach to replace him, and I'm still going to be worried about it, because you're never going to be able to replace him. You could. Bear Bryant was awesome. Nick Saban was awesome. We're lucky that we had the two best that's ever done it. And think about the lull in between, right?
I don't want to think about that lull in between, Mick, because that was – I remember those Shula days. I remember those days, man, and everyone needs to be, you know, grateful for what we do have. You know, I get so tired of some of these fans, you know, complaining about us losing one ball game. My God. There's so many teams out there that would love to have a one-loss team, you know, on their platter there, and to go watch. We Bama fans, we can be spoiled, and we have been spoiled by the success of Coach Saban and his teams. But I've enjoyed every minute of it, and it's going to be something that I remember for the rest of my life. You know, it's just a great time to be an Alabama fan. So folks, enjoy it, because like Mick said, it may not be this year, but this ride is not going to last forever. It's not.
Yeah, no, but I'm going to enjoy it. And,
I'm going to enjoy it while it's here. And let's go out to the West Coast and let's pick up a win against Michigan. We need to shut those guys up.
Yeah. Well, and what's great is the excitement that this program has found again. People said that Alabama fans took a shot at Alabama fans. You know, hey, they weren't showing up to some of the bowl games. The Clemson, you know, had more fans at the championship game the second and third time than Alabama. You know, it was kind of the same thing on the road. The problem is you're traveling constantly to expensive places to watch your team play. Yeah. And as much as you want to be out there and you know, and
it's not cheap to go.
Yeah, right. And so it's one of those things. I got to say this. Look, guys, on the message board, I see T. Jones is on here from Michigan talking shit. Talk it, man, because I collect all of these receipts, and in the post-game show, he won't be around, but we will. we'll be like talking about, like, I'll tell you, some of the best ones were the Ole Miss fans. The Texas A&M fans were great too. Like with and we had one little Auburn guy that was on here, and then we had a bunch of Georgia Bulldogs barking at us. Right, so like, come on, man, give us a thumbs up. We're all about it. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, come on in here and talk that garbage. And
well, it's like to me, it's like that. It's like watching that guy that gets his ass beat every time he gets into a fight. But then you see him again. I had a friend like this in college, and you hear him, and you're like, man, this guy's really confident. And then as soon as the fight starts, he's knocked out.
Right.
But you know what? I mean, it's like, get back up again and do it again. Like, okay, I love you get on the comment section and you want to duke it out as long as you're respectful, but you talk your smack, bring it on, man. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. That's what it's all about, man. That's why I love college football, love football. And the smack talk begins. Alabama and Michigan. It'll be here before you know it, and I'm looking forward to it for sure.
I think he says we sound scared. The funny thing is, the funniest part about this is, and I know about delusional fans. I think I was one back when I was a student, when Alabama would, start the season, Shula, Mike Dubose days, Franchione days, and you're like, we're going to win them all. And then you get out there and you're like, you're not going to win them all,
No, you're not.
Right. So
no,
I
was there too. I was there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he apparently thinks that we're running scared from Michigan. The last time Michigan beat Alabama, you know who the quarterback was?
You know what? Tom Brady. That was my senior year.
Yeah. That's been a while ago.
It was my senior year.
Yeah. And I
it was a 1-point game. We lost on Flugner.
Yeah. It was Tom Brady. That's been a while ago, buddy. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a new year, new challenge, but we'll see.
Okay, let's talk about the young guys being part of the bowl practice. What do you think they're doing? I mean, is Julian Sands probably not doing a whole lot right now? I mean, they're just like, it's an extra body, right?
Yeah. And let me ask you this: who do you what position right there do you think is going to be the most beneficial? Who's going to benefit the most out of those 11 players? Do you think, if you had to choose one, who's going to benefit the most from starting early?
Oh, look, it's I think 100% it's Julian Sands. I think because the quarterback job is. Jake Coker told me, and if you guys have watched it, and I got to keep promoting it because Jake's my guy, Elephant in the Room on Roll Tide Pods. He said that he transferred from Florida State to Alabama. And first day, I mean, this is his dream to play at Alabama.
Right.
Rolls in. And, and he was as confident as T. Jones is on the message board for Michigan, like rolling into that game against TCU last year, right? Like he's ready. I mean, he's going to be the quarterback at Alabama. And the first day he gets this like this list of stuff, right? It was like one of those like Christmas scrolls, like,
yeah.
And he's like, oh, this must be for the week. And the coach looks at him and goes, no, that's today.
That's today. Oh boy. Yeah. Welcome to Tuscaloosa, Jake.
Welcome to Nick Saban. Right. And, that's the attention to detail that Coach Saban has instilled in these guys. And it starts, Julian saying, it's exciting to have him, man. This is a Bryce Young type of guy. And Bryce was, immediately like, just like yum, yum, yum. Like he's just like totally eating all of the mental aspect of the football game. Right. Stephen, thank you, man, for watching it. How about Ryan Anderson? By the way, Stephen, you talk about a dude that I love hanging out with. I just hate that he makes me laugh so hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've
been watching you guys do a great job with that.
You know how there's just certain people that if somebody else said the same thing, it might not be as funny.
Yeah.
But it's Bull Corey. Our friend Bull Corey was one of those people, the late, great Bull Corey, and how we know each other. The love Bull Corey. And he was another one of those guys. Like you would try to explain why Bull's funny, but he's funny. Ryan's the same way to me. Like, he just the way that he says stuff and what he's saying, he reminds me of some of my friends growing up. And he just hits that spot for me, So I go back. I'm always a little weary of watching those shows because I know I laughed so much. I'm like, man, I hope people didn't not like it.
I know. We're all here to have a good time.
But I'm like, they're probably like, he's laughing too much. I got to be more serious. But anyway, thanks, guys. But going back to it, I think Julian Sands, that guy, I really do. And don't think that the other guys aren't getting a lot out of this as well. You know, you're talking about, look, I'm going to run through some of the guys that are actually there early right now. I mean, you're talking about 11 new freshmen joining the program. We talked about Julian Sand, but Casey Poe, who's been rated as one of the best offensive linemen. You got William Sanders, another big offensive lineman. Joseph Ionetta, another guy. Man, these are the guys that you rely on to win football games. You win in the line of scrimmage, in the trenches, exactly, right? A tight end that is the next, like, Anari Black, right? Or, you know, I describe this guy as like a Antonio Gates, you know, like a former basketball player playing football, athletic, has the grips to jump up and make a bunch of plays. You know, even him, I mean, he's going to be relied on probably next year. You know, you put these tight ends out on the field early if they can catch and they can block, right? Zabian Brown and Jeremiah Beeman, you know, talking about guys on the defensive side of the ball that are out there. I love this guy right here. I've never seen him even play before, but just because I broadcasted his dad, Drake Kirkpatrick, like, the fact that, like, Saban's been around that long and that I've been around that long, like,
You're an old man, Mick.
Yeah, like, I'm like, Gadsden City. He played for Gadsden City. County High beat Gadsden City. His dad, though, intercepted a ball and scored a touchdown, but did a somersault scoring the touchdown in the game. So they got a 15-yard penalty and they missed the extra point. You know, so it was like I think it was like a 15-6 or something like that final, 17-6.
Yeah, screwy score.
In Gadsden City, but yeah, it's really fun to kind of go back and look at what's happening here with this program, and it's cool that these young guys are getting the opportunity right now to be part of things. And with this guy right here, I'm going to put him on the stage. You might have seen him before. I love the look too. Let me go back to this because I want to pause right there. Well, not right there.
No,
right there. Okay,
perfect.
Think about this, okay? As we all just kind of look at Nick Saban, what makes him so awesome is that's the sweatshirt that he got like the first year he was at Alabama. Like, to think, like, you can't even buy that anymore.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like he just doesn't care. Like, he's not rolling out to Hibbett's or you know, to the bookstore
or anything like that.
Yeah, Academy Sports. Which they give him all the new stuff. Like, he's got the original pullover and that same floppy hat.
Yeah.
You know, like,
same floppy hat, same pullover, and laser beam kick-ass attitude. Look at your top chat coming from Lynn here, Lynn Williams. How about
Lynn,
that?
Roll Tide to you. As long as he's alive, he's our leader. GOAT, the Godfather. Silverback. First off, Lynn, thank you for the super chat. I can't even tell you guys how much I appreciate Lynn and all of you that are part of what we're doing. And the super chats mean a lot. I mean, you know, it's like somebody messaged him and they're like, "Hey, man, you know, I appreciate the grind." And honestly, it's not a grind when you get on here and do the show. But it is a grind, like doing the research to know what you're talking about, you know, to be like constantly in the know of all the stuff that's going down. Right. And so I can't thank you guys enough. And it really has been so cool to get to meet you guys and talk to you on here. And Lynn, I appreciate it. So I'm going to actually go over to the cooler over here and crack a beer for you in your honor and Roll Tide.
And Roll Tide. Who's this to the right of Saban? Who's this character in the back?
I don't know. But I just was, you know, I was like looking at Coach.
I do like the sweatshirt and the floppy hat. Look, he may be superstitious.
Look,
he does the penny thing with his daughter.
The reason I know that is when I worked at Crimson Tide Sports Network, they gave us that one. And that was like his first year. I mean, like we, like we a pullover and the zipper jacket, the Orange Bowl with Tom Brady. I was on a show making fun of Tom Brady's name. I was calling him Brady Bunch. Who knew that that he was only going to be the best quarterback in the history of football? You know,
Right, exactly.
It's so funny. 60 says, D'Amico Ryans would be a great replacement. I know he's done another awesome job. It's kind of crazy to think that D'Amico Ryans played for Shula.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know he's talked about it before. I mean, shit, he would have liked to have won a championship or two, you know, playing for Saban. He's made such a great career, though, and he's become one of the best coaches in the NFL.
I was asking who that was on the other side of Saban, and Brent chimes in and says, "That's hairballs trying to spy and steal signs." There's no telling where old Jim may be here today. There's some great memes on social media of him relaxing in his apartment across the street from the practice facility.
Let me ask you this, Brett. What's the biggest concern you have going into this game?
The biggest concern, I guess, would be I hope we come out like the LSU, like the Georgia game, something like that. I'd love to see us start out fast and get out to a quick start, and I think we will. I just hope we don't. I don't want us to beat ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think we're going to be fine in this game. I really do. I have a lot of confidence in our team, especially after that Georgia win. That takes a lot out of you, though. But I like the slow, the break here to get over that kind of win, because that was a huge win for not only us this year, but for the program and for Coach Saban. Because a lot of folks were talking about Kirby and Michigan being they were on the verge of winning another national championship themselves, and trying to put Alabama in the dirt, and then Coach Saban was this is a big one for him, I think, beating Kirby and Georgia. But no, I just hope we get off to a fast start and play our brand of football. If Michigan wants to come out and play this defensive, grind them out, punch you in the nose type of game, I think we're game for that. I don't know. We're not going to be scared of Michigan. If we play our game, we're going to win this ball game. But we're not going to be intimidated by the Michigan Wolverines pushing us around. I don't think.
No. Well, look, if I think that if they run the ball effectively, it'll be a close game. I think if they have trouble running the ball, Alabama will beat them pretty handily. No one's ever more prepared than Nick Saban, but I told you I have a lot of respect for Jim Harbaugh. I do, and I know that he cheated and that they were stealing signs, but he's recruited well. I remember when he was Stanford's head coach, and he was the guy that started beating Pete Carroll. When USC was the top of the mountain. And so I don't put anything past him, and I'm not overlooking Michigan at all.
I'm not overlooking them either.
McCarthy's a good quarterback. Corum's one of the best might be the best back in college football. Blake Corum.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not overlooking them or anything like that. Obviously, they're the number one team in the country. You got to respect that. Georgia was the number one team in the country. I respected that. I was worried about that ball game. Obviously, especially after the way we played at Auburn. But after the Georgia game, though, I'm confident in this team after we see what they can do. And I'm confident in these guys. And like I said, if we play our brand of football and we come out and play well, we should win the ball game.
When you look at the coaches that are that have a chance to win the Coach of the Year, did you see where Coach Saban is nominated for the Coach of the Year? And what's crazy to me is that he hasn't won it more. But I think this is his best coaching job. And I'm going to run through them. Mike Norvell of Florida State would be someone that I would consider voting for.
Yeah.
I know that Florida State is disappointed in their season, but Mike Norvell's done a great job. I mean, the fact that Nick Saban, though, turned this program around from where it was at the beginning of the year and where it is right now, it's his best coaching job. I really have been impressed with him. But those would be my two front runners.
Yeah, I would agree. And you say Coach Saban, we're surprised that he has not won the Coach of the Year more times than what he probably has. I mean, he has. I was trying to look and see how many times he has won the Coach of the Year honor. I know he has won the Bear Bryant Award, the AP National Coach of the Year. He's won all the big ones. So the Bobby Bowden National Coach of the Year. He's won all the big ones, but the way Alabama has played over his tenure at the university, it would be like he could really win it every year. I mean, he's the GOAT. But when you look at it and you take the perspective that you just went and went down, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, because of this really he didn't have the superior talent that he's had probably in the past, and got off to a shaky start, but he righted the ship. He got everything out of the choppy waters and then back onto a smooth level. And I would not argue with you at all that this is his best coaching job as the head coach at Alabama, because of the fact of the way not only the quarterback situation, the offensive line, all these things that we're having trouble with on the field, but also we also have to mention that a lot of us were losing faith in our offensive coordinator. And we see how that's kind of worked out too. He's not only working with his players, but by golly, he's working on his coaches too.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like when it comes to Nick Saban, by the way, it's Kalen DeBoer of Washington, Eli Drinkowitz of Missouri, who's had a great year. Mike Norvell, obviously has had a great year as well. It's the Dodd Coach of the Year award. And then Jed Fish of Arizona, which, by the way, the thing about Arizona ended up 9-3, and they started stomping teams by the end of the year. So
what kind of name is Jed Fish?
Fisch, right? Is that Fish? Fish? Yeah, it's the type of name that you put a lure on and a string on the end of it.
The rope a bit. No, I agree with Dirk. Also, there at Missouri, speaking of times to get out, would this be a good time for him to leave Missouri?
Yes. Yeah, I would get out of there as fast as possible. Saban won the Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year award 2014. This marks Saban's third selection as a finalist, 2014, 2018. And then DeBoer, Drinkowitz, Fish, and Norvell all making their first on the list. So if you're giving out an award for coaching, the fact that when you look at where this Alabama team was 3 weeks in, man, I'm telling you, man, it's just crazy how much who would have said at that point, look at the odds in Vegas. Who would have said at that point that this team would be playing for a national championship?
I have to admit, not me. I thought I was really gloom and doom there for a little while. I thought, something's just not right. And we had talked on the phone, Mick, and stuff, and we were both really concerned about the direction of which the team was going. But we got it turned around, and here we are, the chance to win it all. And I wonder what the odds were, say after the second week of the season, just say the second week or the third week, that the odds were for us to actually win the national championship. Been a nice time probably to lay down some money there at Pearl River Resort.
Yeah. Chris Coleman bet on Alabama the next day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I had another guy tell me the same thing. One of my buddies, Tim, said the same thing. He's a Tennessee fan, and he's like, I told him like weeks ago. I said, you made a good bet.
Yeah.
Because this team's good, and Vegas is like not. Vegas hasn't figured it out yet. Like they're still trying to figure it out, but they haven't quite figured it out. So that's
Yeah, and that says a lot when Vegas hasn't figured it out by the playoffs.
No. Well, I think they look at Alabama as a whole and they see some weaknesses there.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Iceman asked me a question. I'm looking for it on here, and I can't find it yet. I don't know where it went, but he wants to know the best low carb beer option for the new year. So I'm going to tell you guys that from my beer show days. First off, Yingling Flight, sponsor of the show, a great alternative to Mick Ultra. If you're looking for one of those, I really like. There's who makes that? Terrapin Brewing makes Recreation Ale. It's like a low carb IPA. That's I mean, when you're talking about taking the carbs out of a beer, I mean, there's not many that you're like, oh, this is really good. That's one that I would put at the top of the list. And I want to say that it's man. Well, let me just leave it at those two because there's another one too, but I can't think of the brand it is. But not a lot, not a lot.
You're not doing the beer show anymore.
I haven't done it lately. Like I'm trying to. We're kind of in a.
Are you staying sober or what's still?
No, it's not. I mean,
no, I'm not staying sober.
Yeah, it's not that. No, it really. It's just that it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of time to put those together. So
that it's just like you're kind of busy as it is.
Yeah, 4th season of the beer show is coming though, and I'll tell you guys that.
You're gonna have to come to Jasper, and I'm gonna have to get you to come down to. We got 2 breweries here. And you're gonna have to try that out.
I would. The only reason besides the football game that go to California is they've got some great ones out there as well.
Did you go to the Rose Bowl that time?
I went to the Rose Bowl in 2009, and I loved it.
I went also. What a great time! What a great time! Something about winning that first national championship. That was something special.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
Here we are on the verge of winning another one.
Well, you know what though? The thing is, you have to take these games one at a time, and Michigan can beat you. This team, they've won games, but it's not like they're out there dominating, and that's the thing that worries me. I mean, it did take a gravedigger, which still is, one of the best ever, but it did take Gravedigger to knock out to beat Auburn, and then Bama came back and they played their best game against Georgia. They're going to have to play 2 more games like that against Michigan, and no team has ever beaten the number 1 team straight twice in 2 straight games. By the way, did you know that?
Yeah, that's right. Saban could be the first and get his 10th victory over a number 1 team. Something that has not been done, not even close, not even close. Nobody can touch that, and probably never will touch that. The closest one's Dabo right now, I think, and he only has maybe 3 wins against the number 1 team or 2.
Steven says his wife's cousin owns Avondale. Love Avondale.
Oh yeah,
been there before.
Yep.
Did some beer shows on the Avondale beers. The one, what is the one vanilla? The elephant vanilla beer. I can't remember what it's called, but it's really good. It's like this time of year is great to have those like dark porters, like the dark beers. Anyway, all right, Brett. Well, look, let's wrap it up. I think we've said enough today. We had the opportunity to listen to Nick Saban. We turned it into an hour and a half show. We will be back talking Crimson Tide recruiting, kind of giving an update on the guys that are going to help and are right now helping Alabama practice. And then on Wednesday, we'll be on here, National Signing Day, kind of popping in. And if anything breaks that's big, we'll kind of hit that. And see what happens. I mean, no one expects Alabama to have any drama on signing day. That normally means watch out, drama's coming.
Right. Expect the unexpected.
That's right. Want to thank all you guys for hanging out with us. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. He's Brett Elmore. I'm Mick Gillispie. Roll Tide.